Okay, now we are in the last example for this series dedicated about the animation. Essentially is dedicated to the timeline and how to use the timeline in production, but I want to show you how to use essentially animation in Houdini and also the timeline. So we can start with our last example. In this last example, I want to recreate the bouncing ball. The bouncing ball is the knowledge example you can find in all school of animation, in all tutorial about animation. You find a lot of tutorials was did on this subject. But I don't find more about the bouncing ball in Houdini, and I want to show you how to create that inside Houdini. Before started, I want to create more room for my works. I want, for example, close the shelf, and yes, I can keep also the parameters here and the object here, so without any should be problem. We need to create our ball. Obviously, it's the sphere. And we can call that ball bouncing or ball object. And we should be create our null is called that is control animation. Okay. And I want to lock the rotation before start. Lock parameters, the scale, lock parameters, pivot also, pivot rotation, uniform scale. For now we can keep the uniform. Yes, I want to keep also lock the keep permission. I work only on the translate, okay? And I want to create the another kind of icon is not the null, but I want to create, for example, the cycle. But I want to change the display like this. Just a little, for example, 2. It's okay. 2.1 for see better. And also on this another direction. Okay. And also I want to change the color for see better. That maybe we can press D for change the viewport, the background to dark for see better if you want. Or we can keep light. It's not more important that, but okay, that. And I want to attach it to my bouncing ball. I want to move it up, so I switch to spacebar 2 to the top, spacebar 3 to the front, and I want to move it a little up. So I come back here. 5 is touched to my ground now, and I want to reset also clear translate, so I started from 0. And this is my first scene. I want to save that. When I save that, you can save that where you want. Also, if you want, you can change also the color of your null object if you like this. For example, I want to green for say this is my first animation, or red for see better, or pink like you want, for example. And we can start with the bouncing ball. Also, maybe in this case, because the bouncing ball maybe need to jump from one point to another point, maybe it's better to jump from the top of this point to another point. So we can create another object, like for example, we can create the simple box and the grid. The grid is represented as my landscape or ground. We can call that ground. And this is we can call box without any problem. Okay. And for the box, for example, spacebar 1 for move it, and I want this move it a little up. I don't usually don't change the sides here. I change the sides. I working with the transform subs side here. We can move it a little bit. We can scale it just a little bit. We can shoot. It's not too big. Okay. It's not more important. And put here. Okay. Also, we can create the outputs in this situation. Usually the output I use it for the digital asset because I am sure it's the last node is forced to move it to the last node in the visualization, but also in this case we can use that. And for the ground, transformation subs. And we can create, for example, for too big. Okay. Also in this case, outputs. Okay. And that it's can create the label. Asset chain object static. Okay, when I finish, you can save. That is my organization of my started file, and I move it. That is up. Then I show you why I up more this up. Okay. And then when I started, I can select my control animation and also wireframe. Okay, I can move it up a little bit, and I want to start it from this. I can put it like this. Okay. Oops. Okay, I can move it in the front view, for example. Oops. Okay. I can move it. I want is this ball is go down and bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. Every bounce is lost the energy, so is lost the energy. The bounce is not all constant and is not more powerful respect to before. So we can start it with the first bounce. For example, we can move here. We can setting the our keyframes with Alt and left mouse button here, and I can move it, for example, in another frame. In this case, our scale is the scale byte 23 point, but you can also change it to 24, but we can consider it like 24. Okay, we can go, for example, the 2 and the 12, move up, and we can move it like this. Important have the auto key selected. If you don't have selected, you can set in with the control key shortcut, and we can see it go down. Obviously, maybe move it like this, and then we can adjustment. Now we can create the blocking situation. Blocking animation essentially is the draft of your animation, and then you can go to setting more good your animation is like the draft. You can make, for example, the bouncing like this. Okay, or up. You can go to another over here. You can setting the key here, and we can come back here. We can also check our path here, and we can move it, for example, with plus 12, plus 12, plus 12. Okay, the key. And we can move it here. Plus 12 is 1. Okay. Okay, in this case, without setting the keys, you can create start losing the energy. Okay, and like this. Okay, we have something like this. Okay, now we can adjustment everything. We can also move that a little bit on this. Okay, and we can see our animation was done, is more constant, but we can check also then all part. Here there is a little error here. Can delete this. Let's see what's happened now. Okay, it's working, but you can see also the animation is more constant, like the range of the keyframes, and you can change that. Also, we can change also the behaviors from one keyframe to another keyframe. Is starting slow and then is the accelerator, and that should be our first part. We can save this file like the middles. Now we can working on the keyframe and the space of keyframes, or on the behaviors. For example, is starting very quickly, and then is was more change the distance from that. We can compress a little bit. We can go to the Windows Animation Editor, and we can, for example, move it a little bit some keyframes just like this. We can compress just a little bit. You can see also the translate here. You can working better with the translate. For working better with translate, we can also delete all of this, because essentially is moved from one point to another point. It's not important have all of these keyframes in your scene. We can, okay, and we can give the constant, because the essentially we can move from point A to point B is important that. But we want to compress this. And also we can start to working on the behaviors of this. For working on the behaviors, I don't want is started slow and then is accelerate and slow and then accelerate and slow. Essentially, when I arrive here, the energy is more explosive energy. So we can select this and we can delete the connection between these two handles, because if I move it that I moved in the behaviors is Bezier, so is moved this and this like the tangent. We can select this, we can broken with select the keyframes, and we can broken this. You can see our line is changed with the dot, and if I press select this, I can move it independently this. If I move it like this and like this, and I want to show you how to change now the behaviors. You can see, oops, can move it a little bit. Okay. We can see if I move it, if I press play, you can see it's go down, it's made the typical points. Okay, press play, boom, and continue. You can also copy this value here, you can adjust a little bit, select one slope. Also in animation or also inside all effects setting, essentially you have you pass more time to setting your effects, okay, and maybe the setup you can take 1 day for make the setup, but all part more time you can lost to the adjustment. This is the life of the VFX in industry. You can setting more, you can have the difference. Shape like this. And also move that before, like this. Maybe it's too much. Okay. You can copy also. Can copy also that keyframes over here and copy and go down. The same for that. Okay. We can block. You can move it. Can adjustment. And you can do that for all of your keyframes. Can resetting the value from the value here. In this case, you can have this kind of curve. Can adjustment a little bit. Can compress some key, because it's when you lost the energy it's more compress also the effects. You can have 0 here and 0 here. 0 here. And here we can lost energy like this. Dix. Okay. And we can see now what's happened. Display, can see bouncing. Maybe that it's not more correct also. There is something of strange here. Okay, because maybe you have this, we can delete this channel. Delete channel, okay. An adjustment a little bit. You can see essentially the work is the work of the tweak for create more fluid effects, more natural effects. Remember Alt middle mouse for moved when you have the selection of your keyframes in animation editor. Okay, that should be nice. Maybe that is not more good for me. Again, maybe that slope it's a little bit okay, better. You can see, you can check here and here maybe for have the good result. Okay, you can press play, you can see you have this situation. And obviously we can started from one point, so we needed to arrive to another point. Can arrive, for example, here is stopped. Okay, he's lost the energy here. You can see now it's better.